Hi everyone, welcome back. If you are not a subscriber yet, this would be a great time to hit the subscribe button because you'll be notified of cool stuff like the one that you're watching right now. I'm calling this cool because I'm going to talk about an emerging piece of technology. It is right now in the alpha phase, and even in the alpha phase, it is extremely useful, and do not underestimate the cool factor. And this is part of my Python tips and tricks series. This is where I whenever I find something cool, I can't wait to schedule these videos. So I'm recording like right now, and then I'll be releasing it tomorrow. Anyway, let's talk about PyScript. This allows you to run Python in your browser, to actually write Python in HTML or embedded in HTML, and you can just run this in your browser. This is how cool is that? Why would you do that? Because browser is the most common client-side software, right? So by embedding this in the browser, in the HTML code, you're making it easier to deploy, for example. And there are many other uses, and I'm sorry, this is still the beginning, so we'll see how this goes as it develops. Now, as of now, you can do a lot of stuff, like including NumPy, pandas. You can do scikit-learn. You cannot do, in fact, it doesn't make sense to do heavy computation like TensorFlow, like deep learning. That, of course, is always good if you have a GPU or if you have a very strong computer. But in the browser, many things can be done, like data analysis, like k-means clustering, for example. So the goal for this video, I'll try to keep this short, is to show you a few ways that you can use the browser for your Python purposes. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. And by the way, go ahead and Google search for PyScript. It's pretty new, so you'll find very few pages probably, especially with code. I am going to share whatever code I'm going to show as part of this video. Look at the description down below. But this is a blog article that I really like. Excuse me. I really liked when I read it the first time, because it talks about, okay, why PyScript, and it also talks about what is the magic behind the PyScript. Again, if you're one of those geeks who would like to understand what is the base layer, what is the layer that you are working with, which is PyScript. Right now, the underlying layer is pyodide, and you can see what that means all right here. So I'm going to be a bit more practical. I'm going to show you exactly how to use this just by writing a few lines of HTML code. And I'm sure you know how to write HTML code. This is like super easy. If not, why not? I'll just add 2 minutes to this video just to show you a couple of lines, and then let's jump in, because it's kind of useful if you know the very basics of HTML. So let's go ahead and get started with that actually first. So how do we do that? Let me open my browser. I plan on actually showing all of this stuff in a second, but before doing that, let us go to, I actually downloaded a picture of monkey that I want to use. Oh yeah, I put it in something called Playground. And let's quickly create a very, like with 4 or 5 lines of HTML code, just a basic HTML page, and then just go from there. Others I'll just explain because I already have the code. I want to make sure you understand exactly how, at least appreciate how simple HTML is. So for that, let's go ahead and start a new text file. I'll just call this, I don't know, temp.html. So I'll change the extension to HTML from text. Okay. And let's drag it to a notepad or whatever you would like to use. And let me zoom in. So for any HTML, typically you start with, it doesn't have to be uppercase, it can be lowercase, yeah? And then you end HTML. So that's how the tags are. So you start with HTML, end with HTML. And then you can put head and title and so on. So let's just put title for now, yeah? Title, so my amazing page or something. So that's the title that you see on the browser top. So let's close that tag, and let us add a I don't know, let's add some sort of a text, because we are going to put a monkey image here. Let me just say hello monkey. Okay, and let's do h2. So h1 is basically the heading of certain size. Yeah, it's a large size. If you do h2, it's smaller, and so on. Okay, now that we did this, you can add a paragraph and you can close the paragraph. It adds some space, yeah, when you do that. So let's go ahead and do this. And finally, let's just put some image. My source for this image equal to monkey.jpg. I think that's what I called this when I downloaded this. Excuse me, let's see. Yeah, monkey.jpg. Yeah, I think that's a good one. We have everything. In addition to that, if you want to put, like, for example, body, I don't want to make this a HTML tutorial, but this, I promise, this is it. We will be done. And let's save this. So I saved temp.html. Just open it. There you go. Hello monkey. It's that easy to create a just basic HTML page. Okay, that's not cool enough. Now let's make this interface run our Python code. So to do that, let me go ahead and open a couple of examples that I already have. Hello world. Yeah, why not just start with hello world. So what, as you can imagine, how do you run Python in the browser, right? So within your head, let me pause the video and grab some water, guys. I have some cough stuck in my throat, so I need to clear that in a second. So I'm going to pause the video and continue in a second. Sorry about that. Okay, I am back. Hopefully, I won't be coughing anymore. So let's go ahead and start with the hello world right there. So you see how you have your HTML and /HTML right there, and you have the heading and head right there. And within the head, we have two items right there. So to use this PyScript, you don't have to install anything. Well, you can, but you don't have to install anything. I mean, you just need to point to this style sheet and also to this JavaScript right there. So these two are enough. This is like installing Python. That's it. Once you have this, then the way you include your Python code as part of your HTML is in between these tags, PyScript and end PyScript. Remember, in Python, in HTML, you open something, a tag, and you close that specific tag. And within that tag, you do some stuff. And here we are just doing that. Within Python, within PyScript, we are just doing print hello world, right? This is just like printing hello world right there in your Python IDE. So this is the HTML file. Don't be confused. I mean, I'm using Spider IDE for this, but it doesn't matter. I can just open this in Notepad++ and still edit this, right? So this has nothing to do with Python in general, except for what you have like within this PyScript tags. So what happens when you open a browser, when you open like this Python hello world, how does it look like? There you go, it's running. This is the part, this is where it's slow. To do this, it takes a few seconds because it has to look at whatever these are, like style sheets, and get those from wherever they are. So, and also to execute this in the browser, it's not as fast as executing it locally. So there you go, that's your first hello world right there. We just did the print command. Okay, that's cool, but what's next? Let's move on a little bit. So now let's add a few loops. Yeah, again, it's almost like I'm teaching Python again, right? So, but now from the perspective of a browser, and I'm doing nothing different. So basically, again, HTML, and I did not close, but again, I should do that. HTML, there you go. And I have my body right here, and within the head, this part should be the same. In fact, in all of my files, that's exactly what you would see. Yeah, so that part is there, and now I put, just like we did hello monkey, we just did like my amazing heading, whatever that heading is, and I put a text right there saying let's go looping, and the goal here is to actually print a statement like five different times. This is again a basic for loop. How do you do that? Again, my PyScript tag here. Within the PyScript tags, I'm just writing Python code. And the formatting remains the same. If you're using a for loop, then basically this print statement should be part of the for loop, right? So it is indented. So you need to make sure you get all of that correct. But once that's there, hey, it's basically printing this. So let's go ahead. Let me save the file. I changed it, and let me open this in my browser. So there you go, my amazing heading. Let us go looping, and there you go. It did print out this "I'm getting dizzy" 5 different times, because that's exactly what we asked it to do. Isn't that cool? Like, we are running things in the browser, guys. I hope you appreciate this. I hope you're as excited as I am. Things are rapidly developing there. Okay, now this is cool. Now let's actually take it to the next level, which is let's plot some random numbers. Now let's use NumPy. Let's use like these matplotlib type of libraries. It's not just basic Python anymore. So for that, this is again, this part is the same, right? So you see in head, these two, my style sheet. In addition to that, I added another tag called pyenv. This defines the environment. This is like importing your libraries, but it's actually defining the environment, not importing. You have to define the environment if you want to import it later on. So I define NumPy, I define matplotlib. What if you have your own specific like Python files that you would like to import? I'm going to talk about that right after this, but right now these are the standard libraries. So go ahead and import your libraries, yeah, one after the other. And I'm closing the head right there. Now we're back to the body part. Within the body, again, I put a big title called plotting some random numbers, and div id equals to plot. And when I do that, I can actually say my output equals to plot. So it's going to do your plotting when you return this figure. Look at the documentation, but just want to give you a quick example right there. And this part of the code, this part, at least, yeah, this is all Python. This is, if you copy this and paste it into your Python IDE, it should work. I mean, if I copy this and paste it into a different window here and run it as Python, it should work. So I just copied that here. So we are importing pyplot, we are importing NumPy, and then we are just generating some 30 random numbers between 0 to 10, and I am just plotting it using a histogram plot. That's simple. And I'm using matplotlib. You can use Seaborn if you want. You can use Bokeh. You can use a whole bunch of different types of libraries. So let us run that part. Plot some random numbers. Isn't that cool? It is plotting these random numbers right there. And there you go. So now let's take it to the next level and end the video right there. Yeah, again, you can explore it yourself by looking at the documentation, but what I'm about to show you right now is tough to find anywhere else. So I hope you are still here watching this video. Otherwise, what a shame. So the last one is scikit-learn, and I'm going to show you how. Again, let's look at the code, and let's look at the code for the scikit-learn example. So here I am going to use NumPy, matplotlib, scikit-learn. I also added something called paths. I'm trying to hit 2 birds with 1 stone here. One is I want to explain how to use scikit-learn in here and do this plotting, and the other, I want to show you how you can actually import external files. So I have like another Python file right there, make xy. So let me zoom in. It's nothing but it's just using scikit-learn.datasets, make blobs. I hope you know that. It just makes these blobs so we can use k-means clustering to identify where the centers are. So it just creates some test data. So I created a function called make x and y, and it returns x and y. And it's making the blobs, and it returns 300 with 4 different centers, meaning if we use k-means with a k equals to 4, we should find the centers for each of these. So we are doing this random. All this function does is returns x and y. That's it. It can be anything in your external file, but here I want to import this make xy Python file into the HTML file. So let's start from the beginning again. By now, you should know exactly what's going on right there, right? So our styles and our JavaScript file right there for PyScript, and then the Python environment. In the Python environment, I would like NumPy, matplotlib, scikit-learn. These are the ones we're going to use. In addition to that, I also would like to define a path to my make xy Python file. So now that it's here, when I go down and do import this, it works. It knows exactly where to look for. So this is our header, and now my header, my title or the text that's going to print on the screen is let's do some machine learning in the browser. And everything else is very similar to the previous example. Now I'm importing pyplot and this make x and y function, from this Python file. So that's that. And from scikit-learn.cluster import k-means. I would like to do k-means. I could have done k-means in the external file. In fact, you can do deep learning in the external file and return the results to be displayed on the front end right there. But I want to do machine learning in the cloud. That's why I picked a simple example that can be done using scikit-learn, k-means, and I'm executing k-means right in the browser. So first we need to get our values, x and y. So that's what my function returns. And then I'm running my k-means. I'm defining my k-means as number of clusters equals to 4 and maximum iterations 300. So very similar to how we use it in regular Python. And I'm going to predict on my x values right there. And then we are going to plot. That's it. And it returns this plot. So let us go ahead and open this, and you can see why it fails. It should not work. Well, it's running, but I'd be shocked if it works. It should come back with some mysterious error. So let's see what it says in a second. And then I'll show you how to fix it. That's what you gain by sticking all the way to the end of the video, guys. Like I predicted, it failed. It gave a couple of reasons here. First of all, it says like no module found, no module name make xy. That's like, whoa, it's not finding the local file. So it's not finding that file right there. So the reason is when you are referencing to these external files right there, you need to run this not as just opening the browser and dragging it. You need to host this as a server, as a web server. I think that's what this one says. Access to local files using paths in pyenv. So that's exactly what we're doing, right? So we are using a path in the Py environment. So if you're using that, you cannot just drag, open the file in a browser and expect it to work. That's what this is saying. So you must use a web server for additional files. You can look at the reference or something, but I'm going to show you exactly how we can start a web server in case you guys don't know. So I want to open a web server right here, right in this directory. You can just open your command prompt, or whatever you use for your Python, right? So any command prompt interface where you can just type Python space file name or Python space whatever, right? So if you can do that, that is what you need. So in my case, I use Anaconda. So I have a conda right there, and Anaconda prompt, and I'm using Anaconda prompt, and I am in this directory, specific directory. Now, how do I start a web server? So I will include this readme.txt as part of when I share these files with you guys. Again, look at the link under the description, and I included everything right there. So how do you do this? So basically just Python -m http.server. Go ahead and type that here. And you see it says serving on port 8000. So if it gives you this type of address, it's nothing but localhost :8000. So you just need to type this localhost :8000. And let's go ahead and paste that, and there you go. You see my files right there, and if that local host is not running, it says error. Yeah. Now let's open our PyScript scikit, the same file. Now let's open it through this server. Voila, there you go. Isn't that cool? So what it's showing is the result of this. So it's k-means, and we did that, and it is plotting the cluster centers right there along with your actual plot. So when you go back to the browser, you can clearly see the 4 clusters that got generated and the centers for these 4 clusters right here. So I hope you really appreciate this. And again, this is where the technology is as of today, and I see that there are a lot of contributors actually working on this. And if you are one of those skilled personnel who would like to contribute towards this project, go ahead and look up PyScript and contribute to that. If you are a user and if you think this is great, if you're working with structured data, And if you want to do random forest or support vector machines and k-means, then you can already do that in the cloud. Or sorry, I keep using the term cloud in the browser. Of course, if you host this browser somewhere else, then yeah, it's going to be done in the browser wherever the hosting is being done. So thank you guys. I hope you really found this tutorial to be useful. It's more of a news than tutorial, but I'll share all the files that I've used. Just look for them on my GitHub. Have a nice weekend. Bye.